Welcome back to the channel. This is the Rational Gooner, and I'm going to be doing a list of my top 10 left backs in the EPL era, in the Premier League era. So this one wasn't as straightforward as the right backs, because I think when we look deeper into our left back history, there's always been players that have nailed down that position. But there are a few on the fringes, and it is really down to the individual making the list's opinion. I do feel like this one's going to be debated a little bit more than the right back one, especially my number 1 and number 2. I think a lot of people might disagree with me on it, but let's start with number 10. And at number 10, I've gone for Silvinho. When I was watching Arsenal in the early 2000s, 99 to 2000, and Arsene Wenger brought this guy in, we didn't know an awful lot about him. And the way he left the club was actually under a shroud of mystery as well. I think he had an issue with his passport or visa status, and we had to offload him quite quickly. But when he was there, he had the potential to be one of the best left backs in the world. And he played for Barcelona when he left Arsenal and had a successful career there, winning a lot of trophies. He won the double with us. He was a good player for us, and I think he's fully deserving to be in the top 10. Quite a lot of Gooners that were around in that era who watched Silvinho would probably disagree with me and probably say he should be further up the list on his ability, but he wasn't there long enough, in my opinion, for him to be any higher. Number 9, then, I've gone for a more recent player, and that is Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney was one of the last people to be signed by Unai Emery before he was sacked in the middle of 2019 to 2020 season. He remained a first-team regular under Arteta, but you always felt Arteta wanted to bring in his own players. And, towards the end of 2019 to 2020, he did a good job for us, so Arteta kept him on for another year. But then he was looking elsewhere for a left-back to challenge Tierney and possibly even replace him. And that being said, I do feel like Tierney is worthy of this list. I think he was a great left-back for us when he played. He was part of the FA Cup winning side in 2020 during COVID. Gutted that we couldn't get tickets to go and see them, but nobody else could either, so that's why we didn't, but we ended up winning that cup that year, and Tierney was part of that team, so absolutely fine with him being in the top 10. So from number 9 to number 8, number 8 on the list is Riccardo Calafiori, the most recent left-back in Arsenal's squad. He has to go in this list, and he could have been higher up. He is solid at left-back. He also ghosts into that middle and joins the attack more regularly than some of the midfielders do. He's actually the furthest forward usually, and it's actually a wonder why he doesn't score as many goals as he should. I think the last goal he got was at Man City last season. Excellent left back, really, really solid. He's a regular in the Italian squad now. He will be featuring for them at the World Cup, but he's also cemented his place at left back for Arsenal. Can do a job at centre back as well, and has been with the absence of the regular first teamers, or when we are playing in a cup game, we do tend to utilise Calafiori in the middle. But overall, he's a top left back, and he will be regarded as world class, I'm sure, if he's still at Arsenal in 10 years' time or not. He just oozes class, oozes quality, seems to get a lot of attention from the ladies as well. But the main thing about him is that he's just so reliable. Just off the top of my head, I'm just remembering that he scored our first goal of this season, actually, at Old Trafford. Again, I won't edit myself out because it just shows the thought process that none of this that I'm saying is scripted. It's all coming off the top of my head, and I do remember now that he did get that goal to kick off our 2025 to 26 season at Old Trafford in that 1-0 win against Manchester United, who many Manchester United fans will attest to not remembering, as it was too early in the season. But there you go. On to number 7. I've plumped for a player that you probably might disagree with me that he was a left back. His main position, I would say, would be centre midfield, but he played so many games at left back for us that I do feel like, and the midfield top 10 is going to be so competitive, that he still needs a mention, and I think he was a brilliant deputy at left back, and he actually played at left back more than he did in the midfield, and his name is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. Double winning player for us, so reliable. He was a squad player for us when we were the Invincibles, and one of the forgotten men really of that particular time. He came to us from Rangers, and I think Barcelona snapped him up as well. He's played for some very big, very top European sides. Mr. Reliable again, and he's also got a lot of caps for the Dutch national side. So, yeah, very worthy addition to the top 10. Number 6, I've gone for Kieran Gibbs. He's a Hale End boy, Arsenal through and through. Played a lot of games for us when Gael Clichy left, and he's again very reliable. Did get injured on a few occasions, but overall, I think with the players that he's actually above on this list, I might have been a bit kind to him, but because he's a Hale End boy, because he's a Gooner, I've stuck him in there. I think he's still playing. I'm 100% sure he's still playing. I think he's in the MLS with LA Galaxy. Is it LA Galaxy or is it Inter Miami? It might be Inter Miami actually. I'll retract again, but. Yeah, he had to sit there and wait for his time, and when it came, he was solid. Didn't win an awful lot of trophies with us, but he was with us during that period where trophies weren't the priority, unfortunately, when we moved into the new stadium. But he was a great left back, really good left back, and doesn't cut the top 5 mustard, but the 5 above him, there's a reason for that. Number 5 then is Zinchenko, Alexander Zinchenko. He could have been higher. I think he brought, when he joined us with Gabriel Jesus, he brought to us a winning culture and mentality with him from Manchester City. You could tell straight away when he joined us that he was a player that was a serial winner, technically gifted, and one of those left backs that just drifts in. When we've got the ball, he drifts into that middle of the park, creates an extra man in midfield, gives us another option. He scored some pretty decent goals. I can remember a volley that he scored in a game a couple of years ago that was, I think it was one of those sort of, Di Canio-esque kind of bicycle volley goals that he scored. The reason he's so high up the list, because let's be honest, we shipped him off quite quickly once we signed Calafiori, but and he was a little bit lightweight when it came to defensive duties, and I do feel like he got roasted by the better right wingers in the league, namely players like Mo Salah springs to mind straight away. We had to put Tommy Asu at left back to deal with him. So he did have his weaknesses, but what he did was he kicked off Mikel Arteta's kind of new culture at the club. His signing and Gabriel Jesus' signing, it was like, all right, yeah, no, we're starting, This is good. This is progress. This is signing marquee players. These are players that can and will bring a winning mentality to the squad. And although we didn't win anything whilst Alexander Zinchenko was playing for us, I think it still instilled that winning mentality, and we kept that since he's left as well, and we've kicked on from there. And you can't deny that he was one of those players that has kick-started that mentality for us. So let's go to number 4, and I've gone for Nacho Monreal. Love this guy. What a great player he was for us, the Spanish left-back. He won us a couple of FA Cups. I think the semi-final against Manchester City in one particular FA Cup campaign, I think that was the 2017 one. It was just brilliant to see him ghost forward and get that volley to win that game for us. One of my favourite players of that era, when he used to play alongside players like Per Mertesacker and Laurent Koscielny in that team. I think Bellerin was on the other side, on the right-hand side. He was just a good back four. I don't think it was ever up there with the best back four, but Monreal was a solid player. I loved him. Great servant to the club. Very, very much deserving of being at number 4 in this list. Number 3 is Gael Clichy. Mentioned him earlier when talking about Kieran Gibbs. Clichy, he was one of the players that also had to wait for his place. He was a fringe player for a while, and then when a certain player left during the Wenger era, Gael Clichy stepped in, and he was superb. He was solid for us. He used to again link the attack on the left-hand side. Brilliant at left back. That not a lot got past him as well, and he'd always be a very combative and strong player in our team. One of those players, unfortunately, that joined the exodus, that was players that would leave and go to Manchester City, who had the money and the promise of trophies, and he ended up winning a lot of trophies at Manchester City. So you can't really fault him for that, because there were a lot of broken promises around that time at Arsenal. There was just the fact that we couldn't break that wage structure. We had to continue with the budget that we were on. It just meant that the players that we had, we would sell for profits, and it was a more sustainable model as far as business is concerned on there. I am thankful for that era, though, because we got through that and we remained up there with the big teams, and now the fruits of that labour with the stadium now paid off, being able to invest in the squad a little bit more, it just shows that you have to go through those periods in order to come out the other side smelling of roses, really. And Gael Clichy was part of that, and very deserving of third place. Number 2 then, and I think a lot of people, a lot of Gooners that lived through the whole Premier League era will agree with me that he deserves to be there. I think a lot of people that only went from sort of the year 2000, onwards may disagree with me, but I've gone for Ashley Cole as number 2. No doubt in this, in any kind of opinion of this person as far as who he was at the time and how he played for us, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Ashley Cole is the best left back that the Premier League has ever seen. That's my opinion. I know you've got arguments for players like Dennis Irwin. You've got Andy Robertson that's more recent as well. But Ashley Cole was the best left-back in the world at the time that he played, and the best left-back in Premier League history. There's no doubt about it. And a lot of people will say, well, why didn't you put him at number 1? This is my personal opinion. I do feel that when Ashley Cole played for us, he was fantastic, but he was the best left-back in the world when he played for Chelsea, not when he played for Arsenal. He was one of the Invincibles, absolutely. He won the Premier League with us, but when he moved to Chelsea and he won Champions Leagues and he won, countless Premier Leagues and other silverware, that's when he kicked on. He was fantastic for us, superb for us. He was world-class for us, but he wasn't the best left-back in the league for us at the time until he moved to Chelsea. And that's why I'm saying he's the best Arsenal player in the EPL era. This is my list of Arsenal players. It's not the best players, because yes, Ashley Cole would be number 1 of this list, but there's an asterisk next to his name. One, with the way he left. He kind of felt like he was leaving a sinking ship. He also was very vocal in the press with the fact that he felt like he should have been paid more, and it got a lot of Arsenal fans' backs up. I remember going to the first game at the Emirates against Chelsea since Ashley Cole left. We got there a bit earlier, and Jose Mourinho was signing a few autographs by the dugout, so we thought we'd stand there and shout some funny stuff at him. And one of them, the things that we shouted was, why was Ashley Cole not starting the game? Is he scared? And he literally clapped back at us and said he's injured. And we were like, yeah, right, whatever. Definitely would have got a very partisan reception if he did play in that game, which I believe we drew 1-1. I can still remember the fact that it was Gilberto Silva who scored the penalty, and it was right on the stroke of half time, and stupidly me and my mate were like, let's go and beat the queues for the food. And once we'd started ordering our food, we heard that a penalty had been given, so we were like, okay, just keep my wallet here, I'll be back. And we ran out and saw the penalties getting scored, and then ran back as soon as we'd finished celebrating to get our food. That's a lesson to all Gooners out there. Never leave early. Even if it's at half time, there's still football being played on that pitch. So Ashley Cole, number 2. Number 1 then, and it will come as no shock because of the players that I've chosen as number 1 in the previous rounds with Lee Dixon and David Seaman. He is one of the Arsenal back five that was so famous and so mean defensively. It's Nigel Winterburn. Nigel Winterburn's my number 1. Another person that I've met and have known him personally outside of football. I used to coach his son, James Winterburn. I was the assistant coach for Bedgrove Dynamos, who were a local team in the Buckinghamshire area. Nigel Winterburn used to live quite close to where I used to live, and his son played for that team, and I coached him, and Nigel would come to the games. I've chatted to him a few times. He's such a nice person, and that's enough personally. Let's get on to the actual reason why he's number 1 on the list as well. What a player he was for Arsenal. And I'll tell you what, whenever he'd hit the ball, they'd stay hit. And I think in the history of left-backs, not just for Arsenal, but in football in general, nobody has taken as many shots from outside the box as Nigel Winterburn. Whenever he'd get the ball and have a sighted goal, he'd go for it. And it used to be 1 or 2 out of 10 times he'd score, but they'd usually be bangers. I can remember a banger at Chelsea where he'd run past all the Chelsea fans with the old shush in front of his mouth, which delighted me as an Arsenal fan. But it wasn't just going forward that he was so good at. Defensively, the old Arsenal offside trap. Once they step up in a line and you catch players offside, Winterburn was always in that line, and he was never caught sort of playing anyone onside. Any balls in behind, he had the pace, and he made sure that he was the last line of defence. Usually, never. If it was a corner that he wasn't taking, he'd never really go forward for the corners because you needed his pace at the back, and he was just fantastic. One of the best left backs England has produced, and in the same vein as Lee Dixon, he should feel. He should look back on his career and pinch himself because he's won the Premier League, he's won the FA Cup, the League Cup, everything domestically he won. He also won the Cup Winners' Cup as well, the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, that fateful night in Copenhagen when we beat Parma 1-0, Alan Smudger Smith with the winner. But when it came to international football, again, there were just players in front of him. For England, Stuart Pearce, he had that position locked down for many years, and unfortunately, it was just difficult to put Winterburn in there. He got a handful of caps though. He did play for his country, and rightly so. But for me, he's Arsenal's best left back in the Premier League era. There's a little theme coming on here, isn't there, with my number 1s. But, it's a lot more magical when you're a kid, and you do look back on those eras with rose-tinted specs. And I'll always remember the 90s fondly, when the Premier League was so exciting, and it was like, oh, yeah, Sky Sports, this new thing, and you shuffle around your mate's house, or go and sneak into the pub and watch the games. Those were the best days, because I was a kid, from the age of like 8 years old all the way through to, when I was 15, 16 years old. The 90s were just a great era for football, and there were some absolute giants in those periods. No more so than Nigel Winterburn, who, whilst he wasn't a giant in stature, he was quite a short lad. I can remember when I was talking to him, I'm 6'3". I used to tower over Nigel when I was stood on the sidelines chatting to him. But he was a giant of the game, and absolutely right to be my number one in the Premier League era. Right, I've spoken for over 20 minutes now. That's quite enough from me. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you very much for joining me again, and I will be back for the preview and post-match analysis on the Leverkusen game, which is on tomorrow evening. Wherever you are, I hope you have a great week, and I will be back next time. Take care.